Committee. Today's date is Wednesday, September 14, 2022. We are meeting tonight to discuss some town articles for our fall town meeting and to take up the vice chair position on our committee. And we have Mr. Kelly here who's going to discuss anything relevant that's going on in town right now, including the articles. Before we start, can we say the Pledge of Allegiance, please? I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Okay, so the first thing I'd like to take up is assigning a vice chair position to our committee. As we all know, our longtime member, Mr. St. Jean, has been serving in the vice chair role for quite some time. Well, he was the chairman, and I became the chairman when he had some health issues, and he's still, dealing with some things. So, out of respect to him, I did reach out to him today and let him know what we were doing. I didn't actually get to speak with him, but we've had conversations about this in the past, and I think he'll be okay with someone relieving him of his vice chair duties because of his current health status. And we're going to reserve. He's still going to have a seat on our committee as a member, but I think it's prudent to have somebody besides myself as chair, to have a vice chair in case I can't be here. We need somebody to hold a meeting. So the first thing we need to do is have somebody make a motion basically stating that we're going to relieve Mr. St. Jean of his duties as vice chair due to health reasons, but he will remain a member.
I will make that motion.
Second.
Okay, so we motion and second. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Okay, so Mr. St. Jean is officially a Finance Committee member. So now the next thing is we need someone to make a motion recognizing who we want to be the vice chair.
Mr. Chair, I make a motion to appoint Susan Delgado as our co-chair.
Second. Third.
We have a motion and a second to appoint Susan Delgado as our vice chair. I'm in favor, so I guess we are all in favor. So congratulations. You have the vice chair of the committee.
You've been
voluntold. Yes, I've been
Yeah.
voluntold. I've been in this position before. Happily do it. Yes.
Yeah. You could be easily sitting in this seat. So
Qualified.
Mm-hmm.
yes. Okay, so we get that out of the way. Now, Mr. Kelly, the floor is yours if you want to give us an overview of what's going on.
I would rather, Mr. Chairman, go into the an overview of the warrant and go through that, and as I do that, I will also, since one article deals with the AFSCME contract, I will go through that for you and tell you what's going on with that. And also, since another deals with the CPC budget that they've recommended, I will discuss some information on that. And then we can go into the financial issues that were dealt with at the selectmen's meeting last night. The town meeting's on October 17th. The draft warrant is in front of you. The selectmen did one read-through last night. They're voting to close it and approve what articles they want on the 23rd. The one thing, before I get to the articles, I'd like to bring to the attention of the Finance Committee is there's a dedication page in the warrant, and the dedication page reads, "The town of Acushnet wishes to recognize and honor the dedication and commitment of Gerard A. Bergeron for 50 years of service to the Acushnet Fire Department, the Emergency Medical Service, the Emergency Management Agency, the Acushnet School Committee, and the town of Acushnet." Mr. Bergeron retires in January.
And he will be missed.
Well deserved.
Yep.
The first article is a typical article. It's paying prior year bills. They are bills that came in after the close of the fiscal year, so they have to be authorized. It's in the amount of $4,077.62. This is fairly typical for municipalities to have this type of thing. The next article concerns corrections to the budget that was passed in May. The first line, salaries in the select board, contractual obligations. My contract was negotiated and signed after town meeting. It was, they structured the contract differently than we originally had talked about. So the first year's payment would be $142,500. They changed the progression after that, so it would be flatter than the typical contractual 2%. The next item concerns the finance or accounting department. As you know, we don't have an accountant, and when we looked at the comparables in the market, we were at least 5,000 to 10,000 below, and so we're looking to add 5,000 to put it into the recruitment. That's also the same for the treasurer collector's office. I haven't found anything. We were advertising at 65. This would put it up to 70. I'm hoping at 70 because most things I see right now are 75 and above. But a number of the treasurer collector positions have been filled. We have an interim and treasurer collector and an interim and accountant. They're working out fine, as we'll see at the end of the meeting. But when we want to get a full-time one, because Marilyn's a retiree and she can only stay and work for a certain amount of time and not affect her retirement, and as a treasurer collector, just, I don't know if you've met her, but she was the former finance director in Walpole and was also the interim treasurer collector in East Bridgewater when Jim Purcell was the interim town administrator.
Now Todd, he's
Accountant.
He's okay. He's still
He's
staying
been-
around, or
Huh?
he's still staying around, right?
Yes. Both of them are still staying around. It's
Okay.
just Marilyn will leave quicker than Todd. Todd is literally a consultant. He has an LLC he works out of. He's been an accountant in multiple towns and a school business manager in a couple school districts. Right now, he works for 3 towns in the area.
Busy man.
And he also goes as far afield in some of the consulting up to close to the Boston area. He is one of 3 people, if I had a serious financial problem in a municipality, I would go to, so I'm glad he's here. The assessors, we were looking to bring that up to market, but since there is a certification for certain positions to unionize pending, we cannot do that, because under the law, we cannot change working conditions, either better or lessen, while a certification for unionization is pending. Public Works, that's a guesstimate, but we want to be safe than sorry. The water, we're reducing it by 70,000. The reason for that is when we met with DOR, and we met twice, they had a concern about what our original estimate was, and we agreed with them when we looked at it because of the spike. We do a 5-year average of water usage, and because of the spike when everybody was home with COVID, and the anomaly of that is...
It skewed the number.
Yeah, it's very much skewed the number. Now the Acushnet Public Schools, we're reducing expenses by $136,788. The reason for that is the school choice was paid for through state assessments and also a line item in the school budget. So it was, in effect, double counted on the tax rate. And we went back 10 years. It had been happening for 10 years, and it averaged around 100,000 a year. When we looked at it, or on a 10-year total, it's a little over $1 million. And so that we've found and will not be repeated.
Was there a shift in procedure 10 years ago that resulted in this, or?
We don't know. We only went back 10 years. We think it was a lot further than that.
Okay.
So if the school, it was on their, is it on their budget and they were paid by the state as well?
No, the school, it's on their budget.
Yeah.
In our assessments, what the state does is they list the assessments into the accounting office, and then they deduct it from state aid. So in effect, we paid twice. We got the state aid, they deducted the assessment, and we also put it in the budget. It's not a evident issue unless you're looking at all of the revenue paperwork. It should have been caught. It should have been caught at some point by either
Because somebody paid, right? We paid it twice.
Yeah.
Somebody got payments twice, and somebody,
Well-
whoever got, like,
it was double counted for the tax rate.
okay, so not physically paid twice then?
No,
Okay.
Wouldn't the state have picked up on that mistake?
no. They don't care about that. They take the money, the school choice money out of, as an assessment. So they take it out of Chapter 70 as far as on their balance sheet. We also did it in the school budget.
Nobody knew.
The money didn't leave. It just rolled over 2 years hence into free cash.
So that's why so the residents overpaid. It just ended up contributing to free cash, and then we used the money
For capital expenses.
for capital expenditures and things of that nature. So
Yeah.
we didn't pay any other school department extra. We didn't do any of that. We just ended up with free cash because it was budgeted 2 different places.
Yeah,
And so.
and spent once. It was
And it's
budgeted twice.
spent once, and then the extra went into free cash, which we spent anyways.
But it was an issue that the accounting office
Yeah.
should have caught.
Do we adjust the tax rate? Do we have to adjust the tax rate for this?
Not at this point, because it's all passed.
Yep.
But because we've discovered it and it's there, it allows us to refund the $75,000 we took away from the school committee on collaborative tuition on that $150,000 deal when we were short the money
At the very
before the
end.
budget. Yep.
Well, and those funds were put to good use with the purchases and they were necessary, I believe.
Yep.
We're not just gonna haphazardly buy things.
No, this was primarily an accounting issue that should have been dealt with in the accounting office, and the mistake shouldn't have been made. But it didn't have money leaving the town or the town budget. It just was a mistake. We're reducing veterans by 30,000. Oh, the Acushnet Public Schools, the school roof project, if you remember, the school came in with an operating budget, and then we had to put together the debt budget separate. This was, fell between the cracks. It's the band interest. But as you can see up above, part of what we're paying for this article includes $15,643 and change, which is the premium from the band. And then we have $40,000 in the fire department to get 10 sets of turnout gear. We've got a real problem with turnout gear. It has been neglected. It should have been replaced. We do not want to take out of the ambulance fund because we're taking out of that already for the breathing gear.
Isn't that supposed to be paid for by a grant?
What?
I think it's a portion of it, I think.
The grant hasn't come in yet.
Okay. So that might be a backfill kind of thing.
Yep. Then Article 3 is to remove debt authorization that was not needed after the projects were done. And this takes it off the books. So when we go out and change from a ban to a bond on the school roof, we'll get a better rate. The next article is originally in the budget, we didn't account for the debt service specifically the way the town accountant wants us to. So this just clarifies the wording that should have been in the article on the sewer budget. The next article is to vote to transfer from the sewer enterprise fund so we can continue the I&I program. That program is how we know in the sewer system whether we have things infiltrating from outside that shouldn't be, and whether we are cross-contaminating anything by having leaks. The golf course retained earnings is, they originally placed $150,000, and that article we did not pass at the Springtown meeting. Well, now we've got clarified what we need, and it is a $300,000. They've got sufficient funds, more than sufficient funds, to take care of that. Next article is to repurpose $80,000 from various articles that were passed in the prior years to purchase the equipment we need inside the buildings when we string the fiber optics. We got a $250,000 grant. That's going to take care of wiring. We get space on the telephone poles by right. So once we get that, we need the switches and
Networking gear and stuff.
all the gear, and we're also, it's going to help us upgrade the phone system, the alarm systems, and the camera, security cameras. It will connect all the town buildings, and there'll be both schools and the superintendent's office will also be connected.
Are they still maintaining their internet connection separately?
Well,
Don't they have their own tap right now, don't they? They have their own dark fiber.
I believe so, but this will connect them to the whole town.
Get to us.
And we probably will get a savings. We'll probably get a savings down the road when we get rid of,
All the cable accounts and stuff.
yeah.
What's the town clerk CD-ROMs thing all about?
The what?
Town clerk
The
CD-ROMs.
special town meeting of October 2003, is that?
Yeah, 19 years ago, they were using CD-ROMs, now we don't need them anymore.
And we're vacuuming up $500 and something dollars.
Wow. Okay.
We haven't exhausted all of the
You can replace it with thumb
ancient.
drives?
I wasn't at that meeting.
Neither was I, neither was I.
I wasn't even in
Were you,
town.
Bob? Were you around in '03?
Were you on the committee in 03? No.
So
I figured you'd get the
we're
kick.
about-
I- yeah.
We're about halfway through cleaning up old articles. If we can find new things to use them on. We're still reserving a number, especially for Parting Ways building and some other projects. And, but it seems to me rather than hit free cash, which we are just certifying now, or going to the taxpayers, if the money's just in effect sitting there, that it's already been appropriated and it's not being used, we might as well use it for a valid project.
Mhm.
Agreed.
CPC. I'm going to clarify this article when I send it to back to the selectmen. As you can see, it's divided between the various categories, 12,000 from the administrative expenses, 26,900 for historic reserves, 25,000 for community housing reserves, and 269,570 from open space. Actually, what the open space figure will be is 30,000, and then undesignated balance will be 239,570. Now, just to give you a little bit of background, right now in the open space reserve, you have $58,083. In the historic preservation reserve, you have $66,918. In the community housing reserve, you have $65,513. And in the undesignated balance, you have $569,670. That's a total of $760,184.
What's that total again?
$760,184. Now, the first three items, I'm going to have to give you some background on. You have a master plan that is at least 14 years out of date. You have a open space plan that's comparably out of date. You have a community housing plan that is about to expire. And you were mandated when you started to expend from the CPC fund to have a CPC plan. That is a 5-year plan with annual updates. That was never done. The nice thing is the CPC plan, the community housing plan, the open space plan can all be integral parts of the master plan. I have also received word that we have another 25,000 earmarked from the state to update or redraft a master plan, and a second 25,000 to deal with transportation planning as it relates not only to South Coast Rail but the highways around here. There is a transportation section in the master plan, and between the money from the CPC and those grants, we would have 112,000 in funding. We also have 40 hours from Sept. That should get us over the problem, and we can combine all our efforts to bring all those plans forward. All of them are mandated by the state, and if we were asked to produce them, then they would ask us not to expend funds and to return grant money. So just the fact that we have started this process keeps us valid as far as they're concerned by this request. Then they will give us time to update all those plans and put it in place so we can go forward and apply for other grants. Because if you don't have those in place, you're not supposed to apply for any grants,
Now, you said we haven't had a CPC plan
ever.
ever. Why is that?
I've only been here since February.
I was gonna say.
All right, so my next question is, does that fall into the purview of the town planner to have something like that?
Actually, it probably falls under the purview of the town administrator to make sure it's done, because it involves the CPC and the expending of funds from it.
So this has slipped through all these years.
Yep.
Can I ask a question? So, the last few months have been enlightening, to say the least. Identifying things that we haven't done or needed to do or update. has anyone created a master list of all of the things that we need to kind of take care of? So we can at least do it, prioritize the most important ones and kind of go from there. Because what comes to mind was one of the first few meetings that when you joined us with something about the drainage ditches, and like, have we identified, have we fixed, have we done what we needed to do there? Like, I'm just wondering, is it beneficial? Should somebody take on a project of identifying the things that we haven't been compliant with?
I'd love to get an MPA student intern.
I said, wouldn't that be like somebody like an HR, like maybe an HR person that would do something like that, organize all that stuff together?
No, this is beyond that. This is, for example, we're looking to use ARPA funds on Slocum Street. And someone mentioned to me they thought 3 or 4 years, 5 years ago, there was an appropriation in the transportation bond issue from the state. And we investigated it, and we were lucky in that in the last transportation bond issue, they extended all of the prior ones. People thought it was $700,000. When I did my research, it turned out that it was $1,500,000. So we have to get the state rep to release it. That will go into the pot to help us with the ARPA money for the Slocum project and the Nye project. That'll replace your 100-plus-year-old water pipes and redo the streets. You're also looking at Slocum as being a major access point into the South Coast Rail, so we have to look at that bridge. I'd love to have a list together. I have a whiteboard.
Just done.
Yeah, we don't know what we don't know,
Yeah.
right?
And
That's the thing.
And I'd love to have a list of projects that we have to do, but we're still peeling the onion
Yeah.
to find out what we need to do.
Yeah, understood. I'm just, because we're gonna tackle the master plan and all of that, which we absolutely have to do.
Which is a multi-year project.
Yeah, which we absolutely have to do. Is that the mission critical? Like, I'm afraid of what's
Well,
out there that,
If you do not do that,
yeah,
and you're not involved in that effort, and you
we
want to...
lose the ability to grant. So this definitely falls in a top priority.
Yes.
I wanna know what else is there. I guess that's my main concern, because clearly what we've done,
You've got a major infrastructure problem in this town.
and we know.
And-
Those sewer lines being so old and all of that.
Well, the sewer are less of a
I
concern
mean,
than
the water
lines.
lines, the water lines,
But you also have roads that are falling apart.
yes.
We are maximizing the effort in that. You've got federal pass-through money through the state for projects.
Do we get any more out of this inflation reduction? Will the town get more money out of this latest bill?
Not the inflation
Not the
reduction.
inflation
But-
reduction act.
We are poised to have our projects under the ARPA money. State projects, we already get the money in the bank, so to speak. County money, we have to jump through extra hoops to get it.
Yep.
We are identifying the project. We've done all the preliminary issues. We've identified I think the selectmen have identified what they want. We will submit that. We have to do a grant agreement with them. It's a long way to get to. When the county and the state then looks at all the projects that are done, and if there's money left over, and they expect there's money because towns haven't spent all of it, then in 2024, they'll have a new round to the towns who spent all their money or encumbered all their money.
Mhm.
We plan to be one of those
Mhm.
towns asking for more.
Mhm.
But yes, there's a lot of things that need to be done, and you've got the infrastructure issues, you've got issues as far as planning on the golf course, what's going to happen when you pay off the bonds, and the operation of the golf course. We are looking to go out on an RFP to get a consultant in to advise the town on which way you should go, and whether if you build a clubhouse, most likely the advice would be to build a clubhouse that's not an event venue, just a clubhouse. You've got a lot of land out there that you could use for tennis courts, pickleball courts.
Which is big now.
Yep.
Yep.
And you need to redo your parking lot. It's very inefficient. So, but you need a plan. You need to bring some people in to give you their expertise so you can have a plan on that. We're looking at restructuring and reorganizing various offices in town government, because you have a silo mentality when you need a team mentality. But that's the first three on the CPC funds. It's a long way to get to answer your question. Yes, I'd love a list, but
And the master plan
I'm
is
still
supposed to be
writing
10
the
years.
list.
Yeah. Well, I guess if do we appropriate some funds for bringing in a consultant to review the documents, see what we've got, see what's not well documented, and kind of go from there? And just kind of
Well,
put
actually,
us on the right path.
yeah, well, I've talked to Serpent, they're willing to help us. The problem is, like for your master plan and some of the other plans, they're so out of date. They go back to close to the year 2000.
It's supposed to be there every 10 years, I think.
Well, 5 years for some, 10 years for others.
Yeah, we did it.
I mean, I'm almost
Your
certain
master
that-
plan is 2008.
Yes, all right, so that, yeah, because I remember Henry Young
You're
working on.
Yeah, but
There was a
Working
lot
on
of,
the master
there was,
plan.
right before he left, there was a lot of talk about doing it,
So it
Updating
was
it.
never.
updating it, but it was never.
It was never completed.
Never completed.
And you've got an open space plan that's even older.
Okay.
Uh,
This is nothing but fabulous news today.
The next issue, well, it keeps going. The next issue, I'm asking for $4,570 because when we looked over some old bills, your soccer field irrigation costs were originally appropriated at $25,000, and you paid a bill of $29,570. So this will clean up that accounting issue with an appropriation. Parks and Rec, we pulled it last time. We're gonna need for Pope Park some issues with the facilities there, and to update everything from the trash cans to basketball hoops, etc., resurface some of the playing courts.
Is there anything about upgrading the cameras over there? I guess they had some problems a few months back.
Right now, we're waiting to hear on a grant that is from Maya on security cameras, that since it's part of the insurance policy, that we can apply for grants for that from them. So let's see if they give us, if it doesn't, then I'll be looking
Good.
to upgrade. Acushnet Public Schools, it's the bleachers, it's the basketball, it's the tennis courts. You've got lovely soccer fields, but you've got a lot of other stuff that looks like it's been falling apart for years. And the bleachers are actually dangerous. There are people that have been injured on them because you got metal sticking out and you have a custodial maintenance force that actually hammers stuff back in.
That doesn't sound good.
It was, the bleachers you got secondhand from the sheriff's department years ago. Buzzards Bay Coalition is looking for $85,000 to preserve open space southeast corner of the town. It's a 254-acre project for the multiple town areas of Rochester, Mattapoisett, and Acushnet. In Acushnet, it's 77 acres. I'm going to butcher this, so forgive me. Well, I might be able to get it. Is it Tinkham or Tinkham?
Tinkham.
It's the water shed area there and the pond. There won't be a direct access from Acushnet into this area. It's going to be passive recreation. At this point, they're negotiating further to purchase more land down there. That would give you access, but there is access from Long Plain Road in Mattapoisett. And I'm going to, at your next meeting, I'd like to invite Buzzards Bay Coalition to come in and explain it to you.
Mhm.
But it's a puzzle piece in a lot larger preservation that not only will take care of water quality, but will preserve the land, and it's an open space issue.
They took over that land on South Main Street, and they cleaned it all up, put a wall there, and then they just let it overgrow everything. It's a mess all over again.
You mean going down that part?
Next to the COA.
Actually, part of it is the town's issue, and the fact we lost our maintenance crew. I've just got a couple part-time people, young people, hired them. They're starting to do all the maintenance lawn.
No, I'm
yeah.
talking.
No,
on the
PJ
other side
Woods
of the
over
wall.
here on the, next to the COA.
Okay,
That clearing across the street from PJ.
yeah.
Yeah,
All that's all,
that was all cut down.
they
all
cut it
nice.
down really nice and now it's all.
Nobody's ever touched it since they
Well,
put
I
the wall
know
up.
that there,
Then they had a path going all the way down to,
Yeah.
Mhm.
out to
The
the river.
path's still there, people use it.
Yeah.
we'd have to, we can talk to them when they come in. I'll give them a heads up that you've got an issue that you'd like to have clarified. But I know that,
That land was donated to them by,
I'm not sure how often they can cut it,
Yeah.
if it's
they had to look at nice
preservation.
when they first took it over.
Yeah.
They put those stone wall there and it looked like.
They might be able to do it for construction, but not after, I don't know. And then CPC approved 2 expenditures for historic preservation. The Long Plain Museum window repair for $23,100, and the Long Plain Museum patio roof repair for $3,800. The CPC tabled the Long Plain Museum fence installation and the Perry Hill Church floor. So unless they take it off the table at a meeting and then send it to the selectmen and you folks, it's my understanding that since it won't be part of their budget, that we can't vote it. I've got 3 articles that are placeholders if we settle the collective bargaining agreements. And I want to tell the committee that the Board of Selectmen last night ratified the AFSCME contract, which is the town hall, clerical, dispatch, etc. And I can go over, I've given you a confidential memo and a copy of the contract. If you want the high points, I can give you the high points since now it's been ratified by both parties. Would you like me to go over it? Since it's
I'm good.
part of an article.
Does anybody want to hear it?
Right.
Respectfully, right.
It's, the article is to approve and fund the 3-year, but we're using ARPA funds for the first year, so it's not like we're looking for money from the town meeting.
Until next year.
Exactly.
Yep.
But it needs to go into next year's budget, so.
Yep. And the financial aspects of it are, it's as far as the COLA, it's a 0.22. And
But 0 is for which year? The year that already passed?
fiscal '23, the year we're in. Quick back of the envelope estimate, the first year, because we gave them a signing bonus from ARPA instead of a COLA, is 18,250. It'll come out of the ARPA funds. It will not hit the general fund. The next year, I'm looking at approximately 15,500, and the third year, 15,750. Now, the caveat is that doesn't include steps, and it doesn't include filling vacant positions beyond the positions that were filled when we did the negotiations. So if, for example, the Board of Selectmen, instead of filling a maintenance position, decides to fill a maintenance foreman position, which is on the books but vacant, that could change slightly the cost in the second and third year. I find it interesting with this unit. Part-time people are in the unit. It's very unusual. It's extremely
Okay, so now
unusual.
you got 8 people that are getting modified benefits out of it that are working under 20 hours.
Yep. I don't know why the town voluntarily recognized it, because you wouldn't have to under labor law with the state, but the town at some point did. And that's why the ARPA payment, the signing bonus, is larger than the COLAs in the second and third year, because the floor for the signing bonus was $600. So whether someone works 10 hours or 19 hours, they're going to get the same signing bonus. But what we did get is we removed a 30-day job tryout period, because in the past, the union had 30 days to try a job and decide whether they liked it if it was posted, a vacancy posted. And that just stopped us if we could end up having a number of people in the union all want their 30-day tryout period, and we'd never fill the position other than the tryout period. We changed for new hires vacation to accrual and went to a standard chart. so that they don't get their vacation credited on July 1 or their anniversary date. They have to work a month to get it accrue the vacation time. That will eventually stop people staying here until a date certain and walking away with all their vacation in one lump sum. It also removed, you guys had 2 extra days on your vacation schedule. It was, usually vacations are on 5-year milestones at the minimum. Sometimes you have 10-year milestones. And like in the beginning, you get 2 weeks. And then after you hit a milestone, you get 3 weeks. This unit and another unit had, when they hit that milestone, they got 3 weeks and 2 days.
Okay. I know.
And we changed sick leave to accrual too. And we removed some outdated overtime language. You'll also see that it's a contract. It's not a whole bunch of MOAs, MOUs. Because the contract, I think, went back to 2015. And then you had, so it's one document. They got a clothing allowance increase, clarified shift bidding for dispatches, and added a longevity step of $1,200 at 30 years. I think it's a good first effort at cleaning up the contract. You're going to have to negotiate the future contracts and start to get out even more stuff in the contract, because whoever's been negotiating this in the past gave not only the horse and the cow away, but gave away the chickens and everything else in the barn. However, the other issue is that some of your wage scale is definitely going to be going out of the marketplace in the, not the near future, but in the next couple of years, and especially the dispatch. I would advise that if people are here in the next contract, that the dispatches be taken out, whether they're represented by AFSCME or who, and have a separate unit. Because it doesn't make sense, because half of the specialized provisions in this contract relate to the dispatchers. And you probably should have a separate contract for them. As far as the other 2 placeholders, we're not there yet. I'm hoping maybe 1 or 2 of those units might vote in the next 7 to 10 days. And I will then bring a contract forward to you for your review. The solar bylaw, I've asked Conservation and Planning, the chairs. I've met with one chair and Planning, and I've asked to meet with the Conservation chair and the staff to come to your next meeting to explain these. I will tell you that the solar bylaw, if you do not amend what you have, it's almost impossible to get the AG to approve a second 180-day moratorium. So if you don't amend it, what's going to happen is your old bylaw that was inadequate will then come back in automatically, and everybody who has been waiting for the moratorium to pass will then file under the old bylaw. Bradford Street zoning is the next article. It's revised, so it only affects three, can only take place for 3 houses, rather than the problem that happened the last town meeting.
Okay, that's what I was gonna ask, this is the same issue. Yeah.
But it's only,
Specific enough.
it's
Yeah.
not as an extensive rework, and it would only affect 3 units.
Mhm.
And then the stormwater bylaw. I'm relying on staff. They told me that DEP, NEPA, et cetera, EPA has mandated the changes. I can't speak to it. I've told conservation and planning that they have to come before the selectmen and before you to convince you of the validity of it, and then you can make your recommendation.
And this is what we talked about before and already said that it was a priority needed to get done, isn't it? So, I mean,
But I have no.
validity-wise, we kind of already did that.
I have no expertise in that subject matter. I was told, I know that if you do not comply and you have MS4 problems, you've got a real issue.
And a huge amount of
But
expenditure.
I have no expertise to be able to tell you that what has been presented by those committees and that staff is what is necessary.
So
I know
that's-
something has to be
Yeah, so if
done.
it's not amended, the town could potentially face big fines
Yeah,
down
or,
the road.
yeah, or mandates.
Well, here's my question, then. The committee that you want to come in here and explain themselves to it, who is gonna verify that what they're saying is what's needed if the committee's not? Because coming in and explaining to us what we've already heard before, we can't verify that that's what needs to be done.
It's not the, well, you have a planning board and you have a conservation committee. Those are the people in this town who the town has chosen to represent the town.
So shouldn't it be somebody from the planning board and the conservation board that comes in
That's
and
what I
presents the
said.
fact?
That's what I said.
Okay, I apologize, I thought you were
Yeah.
talking about the actual people that came up with the recommendation, the committee.
Nope, I've told the 2 chairs, they have to come before the board, and if they want to bring their staff, but it's an issue that you need to enhance trust to get it passed.
And I think for town meeting purpose, you know, for some of these articles that can be potentially confusing to residents, because these are like cumbersome articles, I would like to hope that somebody would take the podium and say, a no vote on this is what potentially can happen.
Right.
A yes vote, this is
We
how
spend
it affects us.
$800,000 now, or it costs us $8 million.
Yes, I mean, it should
in 2
be
years.
simplified,
You
I think, for
Yeah.
the
you and I
residents
have
at town
talked
meeting.
about
Right.
this, and
Yes.
I have carried that message to the committee chair.
So I think each chair needs to be prepared to explain and
Mhm.
present to our residents the impact of the article either way.
But in layman's terms.
Yes,
Yeah.
Is
exactly.
key.
Layman's terms.
Well, not only layman's terms, but I think it has to be residents as, who are on the committee as well as staff.
Mhm.
But it has to be the committee members, whether the chair, vice chair, whatever, who are your neighbors and citizens of the town
Yeah, I mean,
that
just
stand up to advocate for it, because
take out all the
they're
legal
supposed to
jargon.
have
Yeah.
the expertise.
We have to be prepared that there's gonna be misinformation, as we've seen in the last
was in the
few
last meeting.
meetings.
Yep.
misinformation, but I thought I heard somebody say, okay, so whatever is relevant for the folks to vote needs to be discussed in quick, concise talking points that people can understand, and hopefully will be open-minded enough to listen to what the facts are, as opposed to my neighbor down the hall was at Walmart, decided and heard this person say something.
Yeah, because once that starts at the meeting, it's like,
Because then it goes into this,
Yeah.
you know,
everybody's
tangents.
Yes, exactly.
They're
Is
present-
that possible? Like, can we have
Well,
the
yeah,
town
you-
planner, first person to speak, explain it before people get up there and start talking, like, we need better structure.
When I was chair of the planning board in my town, I stood up, advocated for every zoning article the planning board was putting forward, every bylaw, explained it. If there was a real substantive, involved question that needed the expertise of the planner, he stood up and explained that. But it was my article to pass
Yeah.
as chair of the committee, or when I was vice chair, I would stand up and support the chair.
I know that, again, because I wasn't even present, but I know that somebody said, the planner walked in and explained something extremely well at their meeting, okay? That was attended by all of like 4 people. And then you go into the town meeting, right? And then people start going on these tangents, and it's because nobody heard that information. That's what I'm, like, we've got to figure out a way to disseminate the accurate information. So if we can somehow structure it, so for 5 minutes, or you have the floor for 3 minutes, whatever it may be, deliver your quick, concise message, so that way we're dealing with everybody with the same set of facts. So, like, so maybe that's what's gonna be necessary, because if there's misinformation in these laws, if this gets voted down because somebody doesn't fully understand it, this is really bad for the town.
Correct.
And I'm not sure just saying, this is really bad for the town is enough.
Well,
Does that make sense?
the committee and the staff as a task, it's their articles, their
They need to present.
bylaws. It's not that they have to present it, they have to sell it.
Sell it,
Right.
yeah.
And if they don't understand that, then there's a
So-
problem.
Can it be already prearranged that each of these articles will have the right person get up there to explain it?
I
Right, but-
don't have jurisdiction over
So
those
can we
people.
ask, when they come in to talk to us, to be ready to present
Mhm.
next, at the time? You've got 4 minutes. And if you want to do your pitch to us, and we can tell you if we understand it or not, I'm game for that
Yeah,
too.
but I would ask
It's their
that this,
article.
I
They
would
need to be
ask,
prepared to speak to it.
Yes.
I would ask that this committee specifically invite those individuals into your next meeting. To let them know,
Take that up with
Kathy?
Kathy.
let them know,
Take that under
because
advisement.
I thought that would be the vice chair's job.
Because people don't know when committees are meeting.
Okay.
You know, I pay attention to the Board of Selectmen. If
It's this
someone,
beautiful service that the town has where it notifies you via email when the agenda is posted for every meeting in town.
but if some other board wants me there,
Yeah.
then I should be told that.
Yeah.
Because, you know, my schedule is, I'm making 2-3 months hence.
I hear what you're saying, but at the same time, if you're on a board that is requesting money from the town, then it should be a given that you need to come to the finance committee and state what you need and verify it. And bring that to us before it even gets onto
Yeah.
a warrant.
You would think?
But, yeah, you know what they say when you assume.
Yeah.
I think
So
there,
take any
as I said, there are an awful lot of silos that need to be broken down.
Yeah, it's all
Not
playing
only
from
in
the same thing.
staff departments, but between, to get committees and boards to work together.
Mhm.
So, this Article 26, the stormwater bylaw amendment, that would be what, the conservation agent?
It would be, because it used to be in the planning department, now it's in conservation, so it should be both. The planning board, the conservation commission, at least both chairs or vice chairs, the planner and the conservation agent.
So town planner and conservation agent should probably be at our next meeting.
But I think you need the chairs too. I really do, because from being in a lot of town meetings, if staff says something that's not as convincing as having your neighbors say, this is why the town needs it, I am the chairman of your conservation commission, you put me here, or I am the chair of the planning board, you put me here, and I am telling you, as your neighbor, this is why the town needs it, and this is a negative impact if the town doesn't have it, is a lot more convincing than having staff who just works here talk to the town meeting. The staff should be there for involved, intricate, fine point. But to actually sell the thing to town meeting, just like if there's an issue about the golf committee, it should be the golf course, it should be the golf committee that's there to answer the town's questions.
So Kathy, I think we're gonna need to invite the chair of CPC, because they have a big presentation within, these articles. The chair of the planning board and the chair of the conservation commission. Am I missing anybody else? Anybody
One more.
think of anybody else?
Conservation.
Conservation agent and the town planner. I think that covers it all.
Yeah, I would definitely,
Yeah, because we only have so many meetings here to get all this done. So, Kathy, I think you got the email I sent you with the. So I think we have like a total of 4 meetings, correct? So next week's the 21st, 28th. I wanted to have everything done. I wanted to be able to vote. I think by the
if you
28th.
want to email me the date you want,
Hopefully,
like
yeah,
Buzzards
yeah.
Bay, I'll contact them.
Okay.
So
The
you
first
don't
week in
have
October.
to.
Yeah, go on.
That, I put that aside as a emergent, like
We've
last.
always used it.
If we didn't, if we need one more meeting, it would be, I forgot the date in October, the Wednesday in October.
That would be only, I think, if we settled a contract and I had to come for money.
Okay, that's the only, so we definitely need all these folks at next week's meeting for sure.
We need to make sure we have a quorum too.
Yes.
Because right now,
Well,
it's only
actually,
5 of us.
well, Eric already let me know tonight that he's gonna have a conflict next week and he will not be here.
Well, I'm not giving up my chair. This is
So-
comfortable.
Are we all gonna be here next week?
I'll be
Yes.
down here.
As far as we all know, we will all be here.
Yes.
Okay.
God willing,
God-
and
God
not
willing,
yeah,
we'll all
rise.
be
That's
here.
right. That's right. Thanks for saying that. All right.
All right,
Anything else?
yeah, I'd like to review what was reviewed in the selectmen's meeting about financial issues.
Okay.
As you know, we have a team with Todd Hassett as the interim town accountant, and Nick as the assistant, and you have Carla as the assistant treasurer collector, and Marilyn Thompson as the interim. They have done yeoman's work. I'll start with the treasurer collector's office. First thing that we started on was the cash had not been balanced and reconciled since February. That means monthly start end to the bank statement, not done. So that's been taken care of, but we found some transactions have never been reconciled going back to the year 2018. The treasurer collector is recommending that only the treasurer's office should make wire payments. It should be centralized there. For example, if your school's making a payment on meals tax, it should not go from the school, it should go from the treasurer collector, because that's where all disbursements of funds are supposed to come from. We're going to be changing the deadline as far the warrant process, so that we have the warrants in the selectman's office done by Thursday night, and the selectman can sign them. So that means that the various department heads, business offices, accounting office, will all be done. And it's going to be a process that is not hit and miss, and I'll get it in when I get it done. We are looking at staff cross-training because of all the new HR requirements. Between myself and Carla, we've been handling it, but we have to look at exactly division of labor. Treasurer collector's office usually handles explanation of benefits for town employees. School employees are at the school business office. The real problem is when you only have one person in the top position in the treasurer collector's office because you have a vacancy, you've got an issue. The design of the office is all I want to look at too, because a number of communities have a treasurer collector and they segregate the duties for safety's sake among assistant treasurer collector and an assistant collector, so that there is, especially if the treasurer collector position is vacant, you don't have everything centralized in one person. And that's just from my old experience as an auditor. I want
Division of duties.
all sorts of approvals segregated and documented, processes documented. We're going to eliminate the paper payroll notices once we impact bargain if we need to with the unions. You've had all the systems in place, but you've been spending all sorts of money to issue the paper.
We're going to the 21st century.
Well, actually the 20th century.
I haven't gotten a paper check in 25 years.
You've had an employee self-service portal for years, and you're still issuing all the paper.
Kill the trees, kill the trees.
We have to update how the golf course reports to the treasurer's office. For the accounting update, when Todd got there, we found that transfers from the 2021 town meeting had not been made. The additions to the CPC reserves hadn't been recorded. The state assessment budget wasn't corrected. The revenue budgets hadn't been corrected. The expense budgets hadn't been corrected. These are findings. The prior year encumbrances for the general ledger hadn't been corrected. As far as receivables go, we had to reconcile and correct water and sewer, veterans and police details were still pending. Now, the problem with that is when you don't have that done, it dings your free cash. So you were getting less free cash than you should have been. We have had 2 meetings with DOR. They know we're correcting everything, and they're working with us.
We haven't quantified? Do we have a sense on how much we're getting dinged by or not yet?
Not yet. We had to record with the overlay the 2022 provisions for abatements and exemptions. School roof project, the band proceeds from 21 had to be corrected, and we had to segregate the premium. As you saw in the article, we're using the premium to pay for, and the interest income had to be transferred to the general fund. The police station project interest income hadn't been transferred to the general fund. It was just sitting out there. That's $15K. Payroll withholdings, we had to look at and correct activities going back to FY19. We had to combine a number of balances into single accounts. You had over 240 accounts in the whole chart of accounts when you should have somewhere between 30 and 50.
Sorry, just to go back to the payroll withholdings, none of this was tax related, was it? Okay.
The problem is
What did we do, start
people-
creating accounts because we didn't realize?
people would, money would come in, people would create an account instead of making sure it went in the right account.
Yeah.
And so you're causing an awful lot of work for staff. It shouldn't be, because they're looking at, or they're not reconciling accounts because there's so many accounts and you have so many days in the week
Mhm.
to do it. The whole setup was wrong.
So was the setup wrong, or was it a combination of that and somebody just not doing their job correctly?
Well, I think part of it is, in the past, you've been promoting people who are not qualified for the positions that you promoted them to. You tried to give people jobs that they were not qualified for, they didn't know they were not qualified for, and they didn't know what they were doing.
I mean, that's shame on us. Not
us.
the town, not us. I
You had
mean,
243 fund accounts. There's no way anybody could even keep up with that, let alone they should have been created.
well, the list gets so long, you just create some because you don't even realize it exists 5 times over and
I was
in
gonna
a-
say, how
in-
many-
in
how many
number,
accounts are duplicated?
number 2, number 300.
Yeah.
And you've got a list of the financial reports that have been filed. It's my understanding that you've been late on most of your reporting to DOR for a number of years. You've never had free cash certified. We have it certified, I believe in an email tomorrow, I'll know what the free cash is, which is the earliest I ended I've been told that you've had a number. It'll be around, anywhere from $1.25 million to $1.5 million, depending on how much we've been dinged.
So, all right, so the number we get tomorrow will already incorporate these adjustments that you've identified. Well, okay.
And we're on course to make sure after town meeting, to make sure that the tax rate's set and the finances going forward are in proper order. As I told you earlier, I talked to the auditors and we've agreed to part ways. We might bring it, depending on whether advice given to the selectmen, we might bring in a firm for a year to carry us over and then go out for an RFP. You don't have to go out for an RFP. I know a firm that is a well-known municipal firm that could provide us with someone to step right in now. And because Melanson will do the single audit of our federal money, but we need someone right now to come in and work with us while we're working on this, so we don't have to reinvent the wheel.
So the errors that we've just gone over were identified by our interim folks that are in the group, not the
Yeah.
auditors.
No, we parted ways.
Yeah.
Well, I guess that's a testament to the people we have here now, including yourself. You've done a heck of a job since you've been here. How many more years we got you?
3.
3, all right. It's almost like when it comes down to that time where you're gonna be leaving, it's almost like I'd wanna see somebody come in here and mentor under you
Yeah.
so they can learn from you, because obviously.
Well, right now, as far as the finance department goes, my druthers is that 2 years or so hence, Nick is your town accountant, and Todd is less time and is the assistant accountant / mentor. I did tell the board when they hired me that part of my job and the last part of my tenure will be to find a replacement, which I've done. I've got also an HR background, and right now I am mentoring 3 people that went through the Suffolk MPA MMA program and are either assistant town administrators or just town administrators in other towns, smaller towns. And so I've done it. And we will resolve the issue. I think Carla was a great find, and we're going to be sending her to Treasurer Collector School. She came over from New Bedford, and we have to see how we fill the hole with Marilyn if Marilyn runs out of time, and how we get someone else in there, even if it's for 2 to 3 years.
I think, a lot of these issues that have come about over the last several years, in my opinion, were due to lack of continuity. We've had so much turnover with people coming and going, and, all right, this is our town accountant, this person's been there for at least 5 years. We haven't had that like that. I mean, do you guys, you agree?
Totally.
I mean, I think that's been the major part of this, the problem here.
The shelf life for a town administrator is 3 to 5 years in a community.
Yeah, I can see that.
But your
It's a-
finance people, as long as they're getting a decent wage, you should keep for about 10 years. That's about the shelf life. For usually when they get up to, trained sufficiently that they're a department head, they've been either treasurer, assistant treasurer, or assistant collector, or assistant accountant somewhere else. They come here, they stay about 10 years, and then you would lose them to retirement. Because it takes 10 years in municipal finance to actually learn the job.
I would agree with that. All right, Mr. Kelly, thank you for your update and keeping us well informed.
The good thing is, what we've told you, we're fixing. And,
Fixing and hopefully we don't make those mistakes again.
well, we're fixing it and we're putting process in place. We're actually using your technology that hasn't been used, or you paid for and you didn't use, like with the pay stubs. And with the fiber optics, everything else, we're connecting all the town buildings. I know in other communities, I bucked the trend and made sure folks had professional development, because that's also how you grow your own. And for example, I've grabbed a couple staff that have never gone to a meeting that the likes of which we're going up in the end of October, that has specific seminars on specific topics within their purview. And they said they might go to an event that's an association of the treasurer collectors or whatever, but they haven't gone to these specific seminars. They didn't even know they existed. And it's time to get people in and get them developed. And
It's
the
almost
money
like-
you
It's almost like
spend.
somebody who has to maintain continuing education credits,
Yep.
right? I mean, I have to do it for my profession every year, because you want to stay informed. And, knowledge is
I
power.
mean, monthly I'm at an MMA meeting or an MMHR meeting, because I know that things change that quickly. And DOR, DLS has briefings all the time for the finance people. There's a treasurer collector school, there's a town accountant school that is run annually that they have to get so many credits on. You have people that didn't use all of the money in the professional development funds that you folks even gave them year to year. That's wrong.
You'd think it'd be set up as a prerequisite. This is what you have to do each year that you're employed.
Well, it also means that you have to be encouraged from the administrator's office to actually do it. And be asked, what are you doing to keep current?
Stay on top of all these things and, just get as much knowledge as you can, because, working in the private sector for an accountant is going to be different than working in the municipal sector, the public sector. as an
Very
accountant.
different.
It's two different languages. I
Yep,
mean-
it absolutely is.
Yes.
Yeah, it's the same as working in a school business office is different from an town accountant's office. You're dealing with either DESI or DOR, and they both speak very different languages. We're just lucky that Todd in the past held various town accountant jobs and various school business manager jobs.
So he speaks both languages.
So he speaks both languages.
Well, that's what I mean, you get somebody in these positions, you want somebody that's gonna be eager to learn as much as they can, you know, and
And we've already, Todd spent days up at the school this summer, and the new business manager has been hired, and we've had a couple meetings. I sat in on one meeting with him and Todd and Nick. We went through some, and Brian Hyde was the interim. We went through some issues. We clarified some issues. We clarified communication channels so we can make sure that everything is actually, they operate as a finance team for the town, not the town municipal finance team and the town school finance team. It's really one group.
that's good. Kathy, do we have the minutes? We have,
I sent,
emails.
yeah, they were in
She-
the
all right,
Yeah.
okay.
email.
All right, so we have some minutes to approve. I don't have the minutes in front of me, so I don't know who was in attendance. I didn't have opportunity to print them up. So it's the first meeting was from June 22nd, 2022.
Do you want to know who was in attendance?
Yes.
It was Peter, Eric, myself, Eric, Glenn, and you.
Okay. Do we have a motion?
I'll make a motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, those minutes are approved. The next meeting minutes were from July 11, 2022.
In attendance was the chair, Peter, Eric Chu, Sue Delgado, Bob Ferrara, Eric, and Glenn.
Make a motion.
Second.
We have a motion, a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Minutes are approved. Does anybody have any old business to discuss? New business? All right, next meeting date, next week here at 7 o'clock. As we discussed earlier in tonight's meeting, we're gonna invite some folks who are gonna be participating in our fall town meeting relative to some of these articles. So we have all the important players here at the next meeting. So if we have any questions, I would say let's take a look at some of these articles this coming week before we meet next week. So if there's any specific concerns or questions you have, we can address them to the appropriate people when they're here. And that'll make our job easier the following week when we actually vote on these articles. And that's about it. Anybody else? Anybody want to discuss?
Make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, this meeting is adjourned. Thank you.
Aye.